All right, let's just get right into it. We hear about fentanyl all the time, right? It's this drug that people will give up literally everything for. Their jobs, their homes, their families, even their lives. So you think, man, the experience must be something incredible. But here's the thing. The paradox we're going to unpack today, it really isn't.
In fact, if you talk to people who actually use it, they'll tell you fentanyl is basically garbage heroin. The high is worse, it doesn't last as long, and it's way more dangerous. It's inferior in pretty much every single way.
And that leads us to the big mystery we're tackling. If fentanyl is so bad, why has it become the deadliest drug in American history? And not by a little, but by a huge margin. Well, the answer is probably not what you think. And to figure it out, we've got to first understand how these drugs actually mess with our brains.
So let's start with the absolute basics. The brain's master controls for, well, keeping us alive.
Think about it. Pretty much everything we do is guided by two massive forces, pain and pleasure. Pain is that primal, screaming alarm telling you to stop, to get away from harm. And pleasure, that's the warm, fuzzy feeling that says, oh yeah, that was good, let's do that again. They're the brain's ultimate carrot and stick.
So how does our body actually manage these two things? Well, it has a special little mechanism called the opioid receptor. The easiest way to think about it is like a tiny keyhole on your brain cells. And when the right key, a molecule we call an opioid, slides in and turns the lock, it immediately dials down the pain and cranks up the pleasure.
Now, our bodies make their own natural opioids, like endorphins, but only in these tiny controlled amounts. But of course, humans figured out how to find much more powerful versions out in nature and in the lab. And that gave us this whole family of drugs, everything from painkillers you'd get at a hospital like morphine and Oxycontin to their legal cousins, heroin and, yep, fentanyl.
To really get why fentanyl is such a big deal, you first have to understand the incredible pull of the drug it replaced, heroin. So let's try to understand what that experience is actually like. So when someone first takes heroin, it just floods their system. It finds every single one of those opioid receptors and flips them all on at once. All the pleasure centers in the brain light up simultaneously. An ordinary cup of coffee suddenly tastes like the most delicious nectar of joy you've ever had.
That song you kind of like on the radio, it becomes a celestial symphony. But even more than that, any pain you're feeling, physical pain, emotional pain, deep loneliness, it just dissolves. It's gone. You're biologically incapable of caring about it anymore.
You know that part of your brain that's always on alert, the source of all your stress and anxiety? Heroin just gently puts it to sleep. All that tension you carry around just melts away, and you're left sailing on this sea of perfect, warm calm that feels like it could last forever.
For a few hours, you are basically in heaven. It's one of the most amazing feelings a human being can possibly experience. And this, right here, is the problem. Your brain was just not built to handle feeling that good. It completely short-circuits the system.
Because, as we all know, what goes up must come down. And the crash from that supernova of pleasure, well, it's a supernova of pain as your brain starts to rebel. See? After just a couple of uses, the brain starts to fight back. It gets sick of being flooded with all this artificial pleasure. So to compensate, it makes its own systems hyperactive. This is called tolerance. Now, you need more and more of the drug just to feel normal. And if you try to stop, that hyperactive system goes into absolute overdrive. And that's when you meet withdrawal. All those amazing feelings are replaced by their complete, terrifying opposites. Calm becomes gut-wrenching anxiety. Pleasure becomes the state where literally nothing feels good. Your own body turns against you. You're restless, you're shivering, sweating, your bones ache, you have cramps, you're vomiting, and on top of it all is this desperate, overwhelming craving to just make it stop.
And this is the really crucial part. Very quickly, your motivation completely flips. You're not taking the drug to get to heaven anymore. You're taking it just to avoid the hell of withdrawal. You're trapped.
Okay, so now that we understand that brutal cycle with heroin, let's bring fentanyl back into the picture and talk about why it's known as the garbage drug. Let's just put them side by side. Fentanyl is about 50 times stronger than heroin, but that doesn't mean it's 50 times better. The high hits you almost instantly, but it can be over in just a few minutes, while heroin can last for hours. Users describe the heroin high as that supernova of bliss. Fentanyl? They call it a black hole of nodding away. It's less of a warm, euphoric feeling and more just incapacitating. And because it hits so hard and so fast, it's even more addictive.
So, we're back to our big question. If the high is worse and it's way more dangerous, why on earth does it dominate the market?
Well, the answer has nothing to do with the user. It has everything to do with the seller.
Think about it this way. Making heroin is basically farming. You need poppy fields, a lot of land, a lot of space, which makes the final product bulky and kind of hard to smuggle. Fentanyl, on the other hand, is pure chemistry. You can cook it up in a lab with a few chemicals. It's incredibly compact. I mean, one truckload could theoretically supply the entire United States for a year. For dealers, it's a dream product. It's cheaper to make, way easier to transport, and the profits are just astronomical.
And because it's so cheap and so potent, dealers started mixing it into everything to cut their costs and get people hooked faster. They cut it into heroin, they press it into counterfeit pills to look like oxycodone, and they even mix it into stimulants like cocaine and meth. The end result is that the entire American illegal drug market has become a lethal minefield where you truly never know what you're actually taking. And the consequences of this are just staggering. Between 2013 and 2023, fentanyl is estimated to have killed around 400,000 Americans. That number is just, it's hard to even comprehend. It blows every other drug crisis in our history out of the water. And the danger is so often hidden where you'd least expect it. Just in 2023, authorities seized 115 million pills that were laced with fentanyl. A shocking 70% of them contained what could be a lethal dose. A single pill bought on the street is literally a game of Russian roulette. Now look at this breakdown from 2022. This, right here, is the key to the whole mystery. About half of all fentanyl overdose deaths came from people taking stimulants, cocaine or meth. These are people who, in many cases, had no idea they were taking an opioid at all. They think they're buying one thing, but it's been secretly contaminated with a deadly dose of something else. So, the fentanyl paradox is solved. It doesn't reign supreme because it's a better drug for the user. We know now it's far, far worse. It reigns because it's a much, much better product for the dealer. And its rise has turned the entire drug landscape into an unpredictable and deadly minefield, leaving us with a really stark warning. No matter how tempting it might sound, don't step into the supernova of pleasure because the danger of it turning into a supernova of pain is just too damn high.